Summary: Naruto dies during his fight with Sasuke at the vote. Soon after that, Naruto is reborn as a goblin, with video game powers and the ability to eat anything. Naruto will start to live his life to its fullest, while at the same time training hard to become powerful enough to protect his precious people. Chapter 1: Rebirth. Day 1. What happened? The last thing I remember is Sasuke shoving his fist through my chest, and me passing out after that. Did the others find me and take me back to the village? Trying to open his eyes, Naruto Uzumaki found it difficult, and when he finally did, everything was somewhat blurry. After some time, he was able to recognize a rocky ceiling, and figuring that his friends brought him to a cave to rest and take shelter, he relaxed. I can barely feel anything right now. I wonder when everybody else will get here and when we will go back to the village. Closing his eyes for a bit, he heard some sounds, and opening his eyes to see who's there, Naruto was shocked. Why the hell is there a goblin here? Was the immediate thing that popped into Naruto's head upon seeing the green face that appeared in above him. The goblin appeared to be very old, if the large amount of wrinkles on his face was any indication. The old goblin had a huge nose, a long beard, large and pointy ears, and had no hair. He looked very similar to the goblins that would appear in several of the video games that Naruto played during his lonely childhood. Being a trained shinobi who has faced numerous terrifying enemies and faces death on a daily basis, Naruto's first instinct was to scream, and that was what he did. You're quite the lively one," said the old goblin. "I think I'll call you." But before the old goblin could continue, he froze, and he became gray. In fact, everything just stopped. Then suddenly a blue screen or window popped up in front of Naruto. "Please enter your name." What the hell? Why am I seeing a window, and why there is a wrinkly, old-ass goblin choosing my name? The window flashed, and a new message was displayed. "Please enter your name." That entry was too long. Fuck you. What is going on? What's happening, and why am I seeing this god-damned window? Was what Naruto began thinking, before the window repeated the same message as before. Defeated, Naruto thought, fine, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, you lousy piece of shit. Your name is Naruto Uzumaki, you lousy piece of shit. Is that correct? Y/N. His eye twitching and wanting to tell the window to shove it. Naruto instead thought, no, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. Your name is Naruto Uzumaki. Is that correct? Y/N. Yes. Gabi Naruto. Yes, that's a good name. Continued the old goblin as if nothing happened. Now here you go, have a nice big grub, while bringing a large bug-like thing to Naruto's mouth. Naruto tried not opening his mouth, but his body protested and he suddenly felt really hungry. Opening his mouth and preparing for the terrible taste, he ate the bug, and it surprisingly didn't taste that bad. Feeling tired, he closed his eyes and fell asleep. Day 2. You have slept on the ground. You have restored 50% of your HP and MP, and all negative status effects have been removed. So the windows are back, and this isn't a dream, were Naruto's first thoughts upon waking up. Trying to look around, he realized why he couldn't move. He was a newborn goblin. All right, calm down, Naruto. You somehow have become a goblin. A baby one at that, was what he began telling himself when suddenly a new window appeared. Welcome, gamer. You have been granted the gamer ability by the great goddess of earth and nature due to your heroic and brave actions you had done in your previous life. This is a powerful ability that very few individuals across multiple universes and dimensions receive. As you may have noticed, you have been reborn as a member of one of the weakest monster species, a goblin. The gamer ability turns you into a video game character, and this includes the ability to view and alter your stats, learning skills via skill books, creating any skill by repeating certain actions, etc. You are able to interact with the windows verbally, non-verbally, and by touch, but all skills have to be called out verbally, unless you have the skill. You will now go through a tutorial to learn about the main features of the gamer ability. I died, was what went through Naruto's head. Sasuke killed me, and I died. For some odd reason, Naruto was oddly calm and collected while thinking this, but he hasn't noticed anything weird about that. Tutorial. As the gamer, you have several pages, which you will use almost constantly. These pages are the status page, the skills page, the perks page, the inventory page, the quests page, and the reputation page. Please start with the status page. All right, but how do I open it? Do I just think status page and it? Status page. Name, Gabi Naruto. Title, not applicable. Class, gamer. Race, goblin. Age, 2 days. LVL 0. EXP, not applicable. HP, 10 tenths regen, 0%. MP, 10 tenths regen, 0%. As you currently are a newborn, you don't have any levels, you can't gain EXP, and you don't have any titles. You also barely have any HP, hit points or health points, or MP, mana points. You also have no way of regenerating either of those unless you sleep. Another downside to being a baby is that you will have 0 stats. Fortunately, you are a goblin, which means that you will spend very little time as a newborn and will grow up quickly. Below is a description of the various stats. STR, strength. This stat determines the amount of physical damage you deal through either unarmed or armed combat. How much weight you can physically carry plays a role in determining the hidden SPD stat, etc. DX, dexterity. This stat determines the amount of ranged damage you deal through ranged weaponry. Your reflexes plays a role in determining the hidden SPD stat, etc. VIT, vitality. This stat plays a role in determining your base HP and HP regen, in resisting fatigue, in calculating the base resistance to several status effects, etc. For every 1 VIT equals 15 HP, and 10 VIT equals 1% HP per min. INT, intelligence. This stat determines your ability to solve problems, link various ideas, calculating, plays a role in calculating your base MP, etc. For every 1 INT equals 15 MP. WS, wisdom. This stat determines your ability to memorize, to read body language, the speed at which you learn, plays a role in calculating your base MP regen, etc. For every 10 WIS equals 1% MP per SEC. LUC, luck. This stat affects various things. Form your ability to win at games of chance, very minor role in crafting success, the rate of loot drops, etc. SP, stat points. These are points that you will receive upon leveling up, form special events, or form defeating certain enemies, and they can be used to increase your stats. These were the main stats. However, we mentioned something called hidden stats, and these are stats that you can't train or increase via normal methods or by adding stats point. The hidden stats you have available at this moment are SPD, speed. This stat is calculated with the STR and DX stats and determines the speed at which you're able to move. KR, karma. This stat is a measure of your moral compass. In other words, whether you're good or evil. This stat will affect your reputation with individuals. CHA, charisma. This stat is a measure of how charismatic you are, and it will determine what the initial reputation individuals will have upon meeting you. Hold on, what is this mana thing? Why don't I have a chakra point meter or something like that? All questions will be answered at the end of the tutorial. Status effects. These are either temporary or permanent effects that can be either positive or negative. When opening the status page, you player will find a window, which shows the player and the equipment he/she has equipped. You can rotate the player to see him, perform various perspectives. Please move on to the skills page. Skills page. Happy. Skills page. Skills can be obtained by repeating specific actions multiple times, using a skill book or through other methods. There are many different skills that you can obtain, ranging from something amazing as shooting lasers from your eyes to something mundane as washing the dishes. You can level up skills by using them. However, combat skills will only show significant progress when used in combat, even if it is non-lethal combat. Upon leveling up, skills may exhibit a reduction in cost, improvement in effect, new effects, or they may even upgrade to a superior skill. Due to being the gamer, you have received the following skills: Gamer's Mind and Gamer's Body. You have been given the ability Absorption as a reward for being a pure-hearted hero. Due to being a goblin, you have received the following racial skills: Goblin Language and Night Vision. You can choose to accept or decline learning a skill. However, there are instances where this is impossible. You are able to delete certain skills. However, several will be impossible to delete. Skills. Gamer's Mind. Passive, LVL, Max, EXP. Not applicable. Allows the user to calmly and logically think things through. Allows peaceful state of mind. Immunity to mental disorder. Immunity to mental intrusion. Gamer's Body. Passive, LVL, Max, EXP. Not applicable. Grants the user a body that allows for the user to live the real world like a game. Sleeping in a bed restores HP, MP, and all negative effects. Absorption. Passive, LVL, Max, EXP. Not applicable. Grants the user the ability to consume anything without any negative effects. For example, poisons, toxic material, and other dangerous items can be eaten without any problems, and the ability to gain skills from whatever was consumed. Consuming the heart or the brain will increase the probability of obtaining skills. Eating something that you have already gained skills from will only have a very small or even negligible increase in its EXP. Goblin language, passive, LVL, max, EXP. Not applicable grants the user the ability to speak and communicate using the goblin language. Night vision, passive, LVL, 1, EXP. 10/125 allows the user to be able to see in low light or no light environments. However, the latter is only possible at very high levels. At low levels, it is not very effective. Please move on to the perks page. Is it going to be like this constantly? Because that won't get old quickly. Perks page. Perks page. Perks are bonus power-ups that the player can obtain from many different sources. These perks tend to be permanent, and only drastic things would change or remove them. As you had overpassed and exceeded what is the safe amount of chakra you could possess at your age and physique, you have unlocked the Fountain of Life perk. As you possess the strongest Uzumaki Senju bloodline since was alive, you have unlocked the Uzumaki Senju Transmigrant perk. As you are a goblin, you gain the Goblin perk. Perks. Fountain of Life. As you have survived having massive amounts of chakra that far exceeded the safe limits of what your body could handle in your previous life, you must be some sort of fountain of life. This perk gives you plus 100 HP per LVL, plus 200 MP per LVL, plus 5% HP regen, plus 5% MP regen. The perk improves upon Uzumaki Senju Transmigrant. As you possess the strongest Uzumaki and Senju bloodlines, this carried on over to this life, as you are the of who is your and the of plus 10 VIT per LVL, plus 5 INT per LVL. Goblin. This is a racial perk that all goblins possess, and it will change upon. This perk gives plus 1 DX per LVL, plus 1 VIT per LVL, plus 10 HP per day survived. Please move on to the inventory page. Inventory pop, but he was interrupted by a new window. Inventory page. The inventory page, or just the inventory, is a way for the player to store the various items and money he will end up gathering. The inventory contains an infinite amount of spaces, but each space has a limit of 1,000 of the same item. Any more, and another space is used. The inventory also has a form of stasis, meaning food, drinks, potions, and other items that would be affected by the flow of time aren't affected by it when in the inventory. When having the status page and the inventory open at the same time, you can modify your current equipment just by dragging the specified gear from the inventory to its correct place on the equipment window. You currently have nothing in your possession. Please move on to the quests page. Quests page. Quests page. Quests are an integral part of the player's life, as the player can receive money, XP, experience points, loot, and other things for completing tasks and objectives. There are several types of quests, and they will be explained below. Main quest. These are quests you can't refuse, as they are how you will progress along the story. The path that these quests will take depends on your actions. For example, if you make an important decision, then some paths will open, while others will close. Side quests. These are optional quests that you can do or refuse, and while not integral or necessary, they provide a good amount of XP, money, and loot. These quests tend to have an effect on your life in some way or form. These types of quests are mainly provided by other characters, but they are different from mission quests. Mission quest. These are missions that you have been hired to perform. You can choose to accept them or refuse them, and there is very little penalty involved in refusing them. These quests, however, will only provide XP and loot, as the money will be paid by the client. Personal quest. These are quests that are created when the player sets a goal in front of himself/herself, and they only reward XP and maybe loot. More quest types will be unlocked as you progress, and they will be explained once unlocked. Please move on to the reputations page. Almost done. Reputations page. Reputations page. Reputation is how others view you. It can be good, bad, or even neutral. This page tells you about your reputation with individuals, groups, kingdoms, and countries that know of you, but you can only see those that you know. Reputation changes based on actions, words, decisions, and a multitude of different things, so this page will be very helpful in keeping track. There are different types of reputations, and they each provide an advantage or disadvantage. The types will be explained below. Exalted. The highest level of respect and love a person holds for another individual. Upon reaching this stage, teamwork receives a plus 40% bonus. Discounts and sales are at 10%, and if relationship meter is filled, then another plus 10%. Honored. A high level of respect and admiration a person holds for another. Upon reaching this stage, teamwork receives a plus 25% bonus. Discounts and sales are at 5%. Friendly, a level where most people are with their friends, as the name suggests. Upon reaching this stage, teamwork receives a plus 10% bonus. Neutral, they don't care about you. They might not even know you. This is the base level that everybody generally starts off at. No advantages or disadvantages. Unfriendly, a level where you are disliked, but not so much that they will try to kill you. Upon reaching this stage, teamwork suffers from a minus 15% loss. Hated, a level where the person hates your guts. Upon reaching this stage, teamwork suffers from a minus 25% loss, increased prices by 10%, and a possibility of denied services. At war, this person will try to kill you if you let even the slightest hint of weakness. Upon reaching this stage, denied services, all actions against these individuals gains a plus 30%, and if relationship meter is filled, then another plus 10%. Reputation. You don't know anybody yet. You're a newborn baby goblin. End tutorial. Do you have any questions? Having read the entire tutorial, Naruto did have several questions in mind. Why do I have mana, but no chakra? In this world, mana or magic is present, but chakra isn't. How was I reborn as a goblin, and why aren't I wherever people are supposed to end up when they die? Technically, your original soul is in the Pure Lands, and your current soul is a copy made by the great god of space and time and placed in this body. What's with all of the question marks? There's a lot of information that you don't know and that we can't inform you of. I can sort of understand me getting the gamer abilities, but how did I get the absorption skill? The absorption skill was originally possessed by Tomoki Kanata, and a copy of his soul was going to be transferred to a new body. It was predicted that there was a good probability that he would become power-hungry and attempt to kill and eat many beings and creatures, so it was decided to test whether it was his personality that would cause this or if it was the ability in itself. So, I'm a guinea pig for you to test things on? Naruto thought angrily. No, it was predicted that your personality and your willpower are more than enough to counter any possible temptation the ability might cause. That doesn't make me feel better, fumed Naruto, before yawning and feeling drowsy. So he asked one last question. Is this the only time I can ask you questions or ask for help? The player can access the help feature and submit any questions she has. With his question answered, Naruto fell asleep. Day 3. Waking up and expecting to spend the day doing nothing, Naruto was surprised to find out that he had grown up. He was now the size of a 10-year-old child, pretty close to his original height before he died. Looking around, he realized that all the other goblins had also grown up and were checking their surroundings. Naruto saw something floating above the head of a nearby goblin. Gobusai. LVL 1. So the names and levels of other goblins and possibly other creatures will be above them. That's helpful. Exploring the cave that he was in, Naruto discovered that it was pretty big. Getting hungry but finally finding the area where most of the older goblins were sitting, Naruto decided to ask one of them where he could eat. Finding the old goblin that looked after him, Naruto decided to ask him. The old goblin noticed him approaching. So you're already grown up, how time flies by. Began the old goblin. You can call me Gabajiji, so what do you need, Gabi Naruto? How do you know who I am? Asked Naruto. Hehe, I guess you haven't seen them yet, but unlike all the other goblins, you have whisker marks on your cheeks. Really, huh? So Gabajiji, I was wondering where I could get some food. You could go eat some moss and lichen, or you can try and dig for some bugs, or you could go to the edge of the forest to pick some berries, but be careful not to go in, because it's too dangerous for a young goblin like you. There isn't any meat? No, you need to hunt in the forest for meat, but you're still too young for that. All right, I'm going to go pick some berries. Seems better than moss or bugs, finished Naruto, before he began to leave the cave to search for some berries. Be careful. Don't stay out after it becomes nighttime, shouted Gabajiji after him. So I was killed by Sasuke, then a copy of my soul was placed into a weak goblin body, and I was given several awesome abilities. But what do I do now? Naruto wondered, and for the first time in his life, he was unsure of what he was going to do. As he continued this line of thought, he began getting angry and upset, when suddenly he calmed down and began thinking logically. I can think about this stuff another time. Now I have to go find some berries to eat, and then start training so I can get stronger. Gamer's mind activated. So that's why I calmed down. I guess I can't start panicking and worrying about that stuff right now. Quest alert. You have had a pretty terrible childhood, and it has left you with many emotional issues. You won't advance in your life unless you deal with them. Main objective: face your fear and anger. It might be a good idea to go somewhere quiet as there is going to be a lot of yelling. Side objective: temporarily disable gamer's mind to properly deal with your issues and not just rationalize everything. Hidden objectives. Main objective reward: 150 XP. Side objective reward: 75 XP. Hidden objective reward. Failure: 25 XP. Accept/decline. I don't have issues. Naruto started yelling. Luckily, nobody was in range of hearing him, and I don't need some stupid game to tell me I have to solve them, he continued in rage. Quest updated. Failure: 25 XP, and the title, Coward. Gur, fine, I'll accept, but only to show you I'm not a coward. And it's not like you gave me the option to decline. And Naruto was right. The decline button was grayed out. Several quests, especially main quests, will not have an option of being declined. Finally reaching the edge of the forest, Naruto started searching for some berry bushes, but he couldn't find any. Gabajiji said there'd be some around here. I guess he must have meant a bit further into the forest, and with that Naruto entered the forest and began searching, deciding to explore several of the features of the game. He tried remembering some of the things that were in his video games, and he tried saying commands and words. By the time he found some berry bushes, several windows had appeared. Minimap. This is a map that will show the areas that you have discovered, but it will not show anything else. By learning skills that would allow you to sense your surroundings, sense your enemies and allies, and other skills, the minimap feature will become more useful and provide more information. Journal. The journal is a feature that will allow you to keep track of the information you receive, be it on items, monsters, and other things. You can also use the journal as a notepad and write down whatever you want in it. Time. Keeps you informed of the time. Finally found some berry bushes, Naruto exclaimed. There's also some fruit trees, but I don't really recognize the berries or the fruits. Picking some of the berries and looking at them closely, trying to see if they were poisonous or not. With no idea how to do so, he heard a ping, and a new window appeared. Skill created. As a result of continuous observation to determine the properties of your target, you have developed the active skill, Observe. Observe, active, LVL, 1, EXP, 0/125, through continuous observation. A skill to observe objects, situations, and persons was generated, allowing the user to quickly gather information. The higher the skill, the greater the data obtained. Currently, you can only find out the max HP, max MP, and a brief description. A new skill, that's awesome. I mean, it doesn't sound that useful, and it is at a pretty low level, so I don't know how useful it will be, Naruto muttered to himself as he picked a few berries and used Observe on them. Blueberry. It's a blueberry. It tastes good and sweet. It can be eaten without any problems, as it isn't poisonous or harmful. Great. Let me see if the fruits are also okay for me to eat. And with that, Naruto used Observe on the fruits in the trees. White peach. It's a peach. It tastes sweet and delicious. It can be eaten without any problems, as it isn't poisonous or harmful. Wow, this fruit looks awesome. I should start eating though, cause I am really hungry. And with that, he began picking berries and peaches and eating them. After eating his fill, an idea struck him. What if I picked a whole bunch of them and stored them somewhere so I don't have to travel all the way here every time I want to eat? But where do I get a bag or something like that to put them in? After a few minutes, Naruto face-bombed and sighed. I'm a dumbass. How could I forget that I have an inventory? Still feeling stupid, he began picking berries and placing them in his inventory before another idea came to him. While Observe doesn't seem to be a good skill, maybe it'll get better as it levels up. I mean, maybe it eventually tell me about my enemy's weaknesses. Hearing a ping, Naruto looked at the message he received. Because of your logical and wise deduction, you receive +1 WIS and +1 INT. I feel that you're making fun of me, but I don't care, and this tells me that I'm right. So Naruto continued picking berry and peach and placing them in his inventory, but this time, he was using Observe. After some time had passed, Naruto decided to stop and see how much fruit he picked. So opening his inventory. So I have 54 peaches and 183 berries. That should mean that my Observe is now at a pretty high level. Let me check it out. Opening his skills page, he saw something that made him almost cry. How can I forget that I have an ability that lets me eat anything without any problems? Hearing a ping, he looked to see a window telling him that Gamer's Mind activated. Ignoring my skills activating on their own, let me see what level my Observe is at now. Observe, active, LVL, 3, EXP, 193/375, through continuous observation. A skill to observe objects, situations, and persons was generated, allowing the user to quickly gather information. The higher the skill, the greater the data obtained. Currently shows you the max and current HP and MP, the stats of your target, and a description. But I used it so many times. Does the amount of XP I get lower if I use it on something I already used observe on? Naruto wondered. I mean, it's still not a bad thing. I could have gotten 0 XP and stayed on LVL 1, but now I can see my target stats, so it's not too much of a bad thing. On his way back to the cave, Naruto began thinking about how he was going to train, but before he could do that, he wanted to see his stats. Status page. Name, Gabi Naruto. Title, not applicable. Class, gamer. Race, goblin. Age, 3 days. LVL, 1. EXP, 0/125. HP, 340/340 Regen, 23 HP per min. MP, 335/335 Regen, 20 MP per SEC. STR 5. Dex 7. Vit 14. Int 9. Wis 4. Luke. Whoa, these stats are pretty good for just being a level 1 goblin. And look at my VIT, HP, and MP. Those perks are really something. Naruto said happy with his stats, but wondered why his LUC had question marks. A stat width usually signifies a very high or very low number. In your case, it is the former. So I also have amazing luck. That's awesome. Naruto, happy with everything, got back to working on how he was going to train, and after some brainstorming, he ended up with this. Training program. STR, do push-ups, sit UPS, and if you can weight training. DX, use forest as an obstacle course and maybe try some gymnastics. VIT, running and sprinting. INT, solve puzzles and read books. WIS, solve puzzles and read books. LUC, no need to increase it and no clue how. Note, it would be better to use the SP I earn on WIS, because I can train all of my physical stats, and INT gets a +5 with every level I get. I can also not train VIT, but since I can train it, I will. This should be enough for now, and maybe I should also see if I can find any weapons stashed away in the cave somewhere. Upon returning to the cave, Naruto searched all over, and he found several large empty spaces for him to train, but what really shocked him was finding several women naked and with dead eyes. His observe told him that they were captured by the goblins and then raped and used to breed new goblins. What? But why would the other goblins do this? Don't they know it's wrong? I have to help them. How do I help them? Beginning to freak out and starting to have a panic attack, knowing one of these women gave birth to him, and she probably hated him or something like that, Naruto suddenly calmed down. Seeing Gamer's mind activate made him a bit worried, but he put it aside. Thinking logically, he realized that these women weren't really alive anymore. In fact, they reminded him of how Haku was when he longer was of any use to Zabuza and wanted to die. These women want to die, but they can't kill themselves. I'm going to have to figure out a way to let them die without making anybody suspect that I was involved, because if they do, then a lot of blood will be shed. Deciding to continue further, Naruto found a small stash of barrels and crates, which upon inspection only held things like cooking utensils, sewing kits, bandages, and other items that would be usually carried by a traveling caravan. Deciding that it would be better to ask Gabajiji if he could take some stuff tomorrow, Naruto decided to start training. He chose a cavern, which was roughly 100 meters in perimeter, and he began his training. Naruto began by doing 2 sets of 20 push-ups, 20 sit-ups, 20 squats while holding a medium-sized rock around the size of his head, and then running 10 laps around the cave. He was able to do this around 3 times before he collapsed on his back, barely able to breathe. Why am I so tired? I could easily do this and even more before I died. I forgot I'm in a new body that is very weak compared to my old one. Noticing that several windows appeared, he decided to look at them while he was resting. Through hard and diligent work, you have gained +1 STR. Through hard and diligent work, you have gained +1 STR. Through hard and diligent work, you have gained +1 STR. Through hard and diligent work, you have gained +1 STR. Through hard and diligent work, you have gained +1 VIT. Through hard and diligent work, you have gained +1 VIT. Through hard and diligent work, you have gained +1 VIT. Through hard and diligent work, you have gained +1 VIT. Because you did too much exercise, you have gained the status effect, fatigue. What's fatigue? Naruto asked while pressing on it. Fatigue. Fatigue can come in 2 types, physical and mental fatigue. and it is gained through either exercise and combat or reading and heavy thinking. Fatigue has 3 levels of severity. Fatigue, the lowest level and the least dangerous. At this level, you only need to rest in order to remove the status effect. Minus 50% to stat gains depending on fatigue type. Exhaustion, the medium level and being of medium danger. At this level, rest is necessary and possibly even medical attention to remove the status effect, but this is not taking spells, potions, or sleep into consideration. Minus 75% to stat gains depending on fatigue type. Minus 50% in movement speed. Extreme exhaustion, the highest level, and being highly dangerous and possibly lethal. At this level, medical attention is necessary, and without it, the player will most definitely die. Sleep will cure it, but the player is advised not to reach this point, as it is highly dangerous. We have stated the word highly and dangerous several times to show how serious we are. Minus 100% to all stat gains. Minus 100% in movement speed. Shouldn't I have known about this crap before I began training? Naruto yelled in his head, too tired to actually yell out loud. Ugh. You know what? I think I'm just going to rest and maybe train, observe. And with that he returned to the area where most of the other goblins are and sat down and used observe on them. He noticed that it leveled up, but the only new thing that it told him was what perks the target possesses, which was pointless for now because they all had the same perk, goblin. Naruto saw some of the other goblins his age playing around, and he decided to join them, having never experienced anything that could be called a childhood. Eventually it became dark out, and he went to sleep on the hard stone floor. Somewhere in the forest. Why the hell do I feel hungry? Why do I need to sleep? And why am I bleeding and bruising from being hit? Thought a small being. I will find out the reason behind all of this, and I will eat that bunny. Chapter 2. New Teammates. Day 4. You have slept on the ground. You have restored 50% of your HP and MP, and all negative status effects have been removed. Waking up to this message was going to be annoying. I wonder if I can make some sort of bed? Something to think about for later. Checking what time he woke up, he saw that it was 8 a.m., and deciding it was good time as any to start his day, he stood up and started stretching a bit. I should go to the place where I trained yesterday and continue training. This time I will be taking breaks in between, and hopefully I don't get fatigued. Reaching the cavern he trained in, Naruto suddenly felt a pang of hunger. Why now at all times? I'm gonna have to go back into the forest, back to the bushes and the tree, and I forgot I placed a bunch in my inventory. After eating his fill, Naruto began his training. He followed the same routine as the day before, but in this case, he started taking breaks. Through hard and diligent work, you have gained +1 STR. Through hard and diligent work, you have gained +1 VIT. After only getting a single point into his strength and vitality stats, and realizing that he probably won't be making more progress for a while. What I really need is some leg and arm weights, like what Lee has. Yeah, that would definitely help me boost up my stats. I guess training for a while won't benefit me until I find some way to make some training weights. Now how could I possibly? Naruto began thinking, before he was interrupted by a ping and a window showing up. Because of your logical and wise deduction, you receive +1 WIS and +1 INT. With his eye twitching, Naruto was about to stop training for the day, before he suddenly remembered, I haven't trained my DX yet. Why did I forget about this? I know I wasn't this forgetful before. With your very low WIS stat, you will tend to forget many things. Swearing loudly, Naruto decided to try doing some gymnastics to try and increase his DX. After some time had passed and no messages popped up, Naruto decided that the only way to increase DX was through something like an obstacle course. He stopped training for the day and decided that tomorrow he will go out hunting and he will try to get some DX training in. While thinking about going into the forest, he wondered what monsters and animals could be found out there, and he decided to go ask Gabajiji about that. Finding him, Naruto asked him, Hey Gabajiji, I was wondering what monsters are in the forest. What followed was a very long conversation that took hours. It seemed Gabajiji loved talking, be it on something important or just rambling nonsense. As the amount of information is too great to try and write down, this is the gist of it. Evolution. The rank-up system or evolution allows monsters in this world are to evolve into various other forms, except a rare few who become elites of their species. This evolution increases the overall stats, modifies/adds/removes perks, adds skills, and much more. Something that rarely happens is a variant evolution. This evolution is usually the result of a blessing of a god or goddess, and is considered to be much more powerful than normal evolution. Evolving is considered essential to monsters, but the unfortunate truth is that a lot of them are born too stupid and they die early. Cough, cough, goblins, cough, cough. Evolution occurs at levels 25, 50, 75, 100. Goblin evolution paths known, hobgoblin. Hobgoblin evolution paths known, ogre, lord, ghoul. Ogre evolution paths known, vampire, minotaur. Ghoul evolution paths known, vampire. As you discover more evolution paths, the more detailed the evolution tree will become. Jobs. The job system is something that is unique to humans to allow them to fight on the same level as powerful foes. Humans are able to obtain a job by training, and they are able to level up their job by investing time into it, and maybe even rank it up. Any jobs obtained through absorption will simply provide bonuses to skills or skill sets. Dungeons. Dungeons are a way for individuals to fight and defeat monsters and beasts while gaining XP and loot from them. In this world, there are several dungeon types. The most commonly known and used are those that are created by the influence of the gods. Normal individuals can enter these dungeons, fight and defeat monsters, and obtain XP and loot from them. There also exists a boss chamber, where the boss of the dungeon spawns, and if certain conditions are fulfilled, then very high-ranked items could be obtained. For the person possessing the gamer ability, dungeons will be a little different. More about this will be explained once encountering such a dungeon. There are other forms of dungeons, but you must explore them. Sentient Species Compendium. Goblins, one of the weakest monsters out there. Not only that, but they're very stupid as well. These creatures tend to focus on using wave tactics to kill their enemies, but it mainly works on the unprepared. To top everything off, they are really ugly and disgusting. Average stats. STR, 6 Dex, 7 Vit, 5 Int, 1 Wis, 2 Luke, 4. Hobgoblins, the evolution of goblins, and they are superior to them in every way. They are physically stronger, smarter, and actually look very human-like. Hobgoblins tend to be the leaders of goblin packs, and if there were more than one hobgoblin, then they would usually fight for the leadership position. Orcs, while beasts if there ever was one, and not many reasons keep them out of the beast compendium. They are really stupid, have a terrible smell, and are slavers. They are quite strong, but because of how stupid they are, it isn't hard to outsmart them and kill them. When in larger packs, this strategy starts to lose, unless you can somehow trick them all to kill each other. Kobolds, they are a race of dog-like humanoids, and they have a similar lifestyle to that of a samurai. The kobolds take the term survival of the fittest to another, as they eat their own kind, those that are weak. Dryad. Dryads appear as a beautiful woman that attempts to seduce males of intelligent species. They would then drain the male dry of life, but somehow, even with that piece of information, many males die this way. The true body of the dryad is the tree, and harming it would mean bad things for you. Just don't harm the tree. Elves. They are one of the non-monster races, having a very human-like appearance. The only real difference between them and humans is their pointy ears and effeminate looks, even for the males. They tend to act haughtily and are generally isolated from other species and individuals. Humans. They are humans, you used to be one, you know all about them. Fine, these beings come in many forms, sizes, and colors, and they also have a variety of personalities. They are the only species to possess the job system, and they also control the majority of the lands. Beast Compendium. You can find this in the journal window, and it will update the entry of each beast as you continue to discover more information. Horned rabbit. A large rabbit that has a sharp horn on its head. It runs away when shocked, but it can quickly get over that and attack. Its attacks usually consist of charging straight at the target and attempting to stab them. Unfortunately, many goblins die this way because they are too stupid to know that they should dodge. Night viper. A poisonous snake covered in black scales. It is a predator-type monster, one that utilizes its very potent and deadly poison to kill its prey quickly. Meeting one of these snakes while unprepared will very likely be the last thing you do. Seven-colored bat. Commonly found in groups, these bats have wings that shine in 7 different colors. They tend to be inactive during the day and they live in caves. On their own, they are rather weak and easy to beat, but in large numbers, they are tricky to fight. Armored tanuki. This raccoon dog has a natural hard shell, making it very difficult to kill. This is a tricky monster to defeat, as its shell is hard enough to withstand a blow from the horn of a horned rabbit. Demon spider. A very large black spider with yellow stripes that makes nests and traps to ensnare its targets. While not physically as strong as a number of other species, this monster relies on trapping its prey. Also, it has a strong carapace to protect itself. Tip: the thread it makes is highly flammable, so kill it with fire. Black wolf. These beasts resemble wolves, but they have metallic fur and hide. These beasts are dangerous, but their true lethality comes from being in a pack. They can overwhelm almost any enemy in the forest together, especially under the leadership of the black wolf leader. The black wolf leader is the alpha of the pack, is much more powerful than the rest of the pack, and has strong leadership skills. Triple-horned horse. A very large horse, around twice the size of a normal horse, which is covered in protective scales and has 3 horns. This horse attacks by charging at its target and skewering them on its horns. It has very powerful legs and is capable of moving very quickly, and it also has a strong vitality. Hind bear. The most powerful species in the forest, as well as the biggest, but don't let that fool you because they are also one of the fastest. Large, strong, and fast. These ferocious beasts can take on anything and come out on top. Don't try hunting these while you are still weak. Mountain Lord or Red Bear. This is the undisputed king of all beasts in Kuturan Great Forest. Nothing can match it. Not even dozens of hind bears can give it more than a light workout. Blessed by the god of fire, possessing the demigods of fire divine protection, this beast has a very high defense, high resistance to all the elements, immunity to fire, and the ability to shoot fire from its mouth. This is on top of the massive boosts to everything else. Very dangerous. Certain death. Do not try to fight. These warnings are given for a reason. Because you listened and obtained a lot of vital information, +1 WIS. Because you listened and obtained a lot of vital information, +1 WIS. Because you listened and obtained a lot of vital information, +1 WIS. That's a lot of information, and look, my wisdom increased by 3 points. Yosh. Now I am able to think more clearly and remember better. In fact, seeing the black wolf entry made me remember something. Flashback. Do you know why genins are placed in teams of 3? Kakashi asked, before continuing. It's because you still aren't capable of handling strong opponents on your own, so by working together as a team, you could easily take down somebody like a jonin. Flashback end. Kakashi-sensei is right. Right now I'm really weak. In fact, all of the goblins are weak. So in order to increase my chances of succeeding in my hunt, I should see about forming a team with some of the others. While thinking, he realized that goblins aren't exactly saints, and that the ones he chooses might try and stab him in the back, literally, for some extra meat. He eventually decided on choosing some of the smarter goblins to go with him, and his reason for this is that the goblins would be smart enough to realize that they could go hunt for more if they weren't full. It would also help if he needed to show who's stronger, as they would be smart enough to remember what happens. Using Observe on the goblins form his age group, he was pretty disappointed that there were only 2 other goblins who had their intelligence and wisdom stats higher than 1 or 2. Name: Gabumi. LVL 1. EXP 0/125. HP 100/100 Regen 1 HP per min. MP 60/60 Regen 0.6 MP per min. STR 4. Dex 9. Vit 4. Int 4. Wis 4. Luke 2. Description: Gabumi is a very easygoing goblin, one who is yet to set any goals. Name: Gobu. LVL 1. EXP 0/125. HP 130/130 Regen 1 HP per min. MP 45/45 Regen 0.4 per SEC. STR 6. Dex 7. Vit 6. Int 3. Wis 3. Luke 2. Description: Gobu is a cheerful and relaxed goblin, one who is yet to set any goals. I should go over there and introduce myself, and saying goodbye to Gabajiji, Naruto went over to them. Hi, my name is Gabi Naruto. What's yours? Figuring that suddenly knowing somebody's name, without them having said it, would be awkward, he settled on asking them. My name is Gabumi. Mine is Gobu. It's nice to meet you both. And with that, Naruto began talking with them about random things. Eventually, Naruto broached the topic of the hunt. So tomorrow I'm going to go hunt, and I was wondering if you 2 wanted to come with me? Really? Yeah, why else would I ask? So are you 2 in or out? Naruto asked. Gobu and Gabumi took some time to think about whether they were going to agree or not, and eventually decided on going with Naruto hunting tomorrow. I want to ask you what we're going to be hunting. Gabumi asked, and how do you plan on splitting the meat? We're going to be hunting horned rabbits, because they're the weakest beasts out there. I was planning to split the meat from the rabbit into 3 parts and to hunt until all of us are full. We should probably start training and planning some strategies tomorrow. So what do? As he was saying that, Naruto heard a trio of stomachs growling. He then laughs and says, I guess we must have gotten hungry. Come on, I remember the way to a bunch of berry bushes and a fruit tree. Standing up, he sees Gobu and Gabumi excited at the prospect of fruits and berries. You've went into the forest, Gabumi said with stars in her eyes. You're so cool. You found fruit. I heard that it is really hard to find in the forest, Gobu added. Wow, you must be very lucky. Naruto answered back, yeah, I guess I am really lucky, but that isn't that important right now. So what do you say, we go to the forest, eat a bit, and then come back and train? Train what and how? Gobu asked him, and Naruto responded, we can discuss that after we get back. I'm getting pretty hungry. Laughing and rubbing the back of his head, he began walking towards the cave exit with Gobu and Gabumi following him. Gabajiji saw them leaving the cave and hurried up to them. He then asked them why they were going into the forest, and after responding that they are going to go eat berries and fruits, he asked them to wait a bit. Listening to Gabajiji, they waited around for a few minutes until he returned with 3 baskets that could be carried on their backs, and he asked them, could you also fill these baskets with berries, fruits, mushrooms, and nuts, and then bring them back? Quest alert. Gabajiji has asked you, Gabumi and Gobu, to go pick fruits, berries, mushrooms, nuts, and herbs from the forest and bring them back, so the rest of the not very capable goblins could eat. Main objective. Go into the forest and collect some fruits, berries, mushrooms, nuts, and herbs. Fruits, 0/50. Berries, 0/150. Mushrooms, 0/50. Nuts, 0/150. Hidden objective. Main objective reward, 50 XP, 250 Gabajiji RP, reputation points. Hidden objective reward. Failure, 10 XP. Accept/decline. Sure Gabajiji, I guess we can do that, answered Naruto, accepting the quest, before he took 1 basket and placed it on his back, with the girls copying him. As they left the cave, Gabumi asked, why did you say yes to gathering stuff for Gabajiji? I mean, didn't you want us to train after eating? Well, it won't take too long to gather the stuff Gabajiji wants, and we'll also start to get used to the forest and traveling in it. We might even be able to find areas where the horned rabbits prefer to stay. Naruto answered using his brain for once, when suddenly a bad omen fell upon him. I'm going to be the smart one between the goblins, aren't I? That's going to be really weird. I have never been the smart one. Continuing on the path to the tree and bushes, they reached the edge of the forest, and an idea popped into Naruto's head. Maybe we can try tree hopping. It is way faster than just walking or running through the forest and will attract less things that might want to kill us. Stopping in front of a tree, he began telling the girls his idea. I just had the idea to travel through the forest by tree hopping, not realizing that nobody but him would know what that means. What's tree hopping? Gobu asked. Well, it's basically jumping from one tree branch to another, and it is a much faster way of moving through the trees than just walking or running there. Not only that, but that way we would avoid any creatures that could attack us. But isn't it dangerous? Gabumi responded. It is slightly dangerous, but the fall is not really that large, and if one of us falls, we wouldn't be hurt that much. We should probably also stick together just so we do not get surprised by something suddenly appearing or get lost. With that, Naruto started climbing the tree and stood on a branch. He looked down and saw Gobu and Gabumi start climbing and eventually reaching a branch. I'll take lead, Gabumi you on my right and Gobu on my left. Saying that, Naruto tried tree hopping, and surprisingly he was able to do it. Looking back at Gabumi and Gobu, he saw that they were able to do it with very little problems, which is not surprising with their high dexterity. Eventually reaching the tree and bushes, using the minimap, several windows had popped up. Because of your finesse and agility, you have gained +1 DX. Because of your finesse and agility, you have gained +1 DX. Because of your finesse and agility, you have gained +1 DX. Because of your finesse and agility, you have gained +1 DX. Through hard and diligent work, you have gained +1 VIT. Happy with his newly gained stats, he observed the heavily panting Gobu and Gabumi and saw that they also gained 4 DX and 3 VIT each. So I can gain dexterity by traveling using tree hopping. This is going to be so useful. Looking at Gobu and Gabumi, he saw that they gained their breath. Here's the tree and the bushes. Now let's eat a bit and pick some to put in the basket. Make sure to not pick everything off the tree and bushes. Why shouldn't we do that? Gobu asked. Because if we pick everything on this tree on the bushes, then next time we're hungry and want to get something to eat, we would have to search the forest for another tree or berry bush. I know that we're going to be trying to find some more fruit trees, berry bushes, and all the other things, but it would be much better knowing that we can easily get food without having to search. By the way, how will we know what things are safe to eat? Because Gabajiji didn't really specify, Gabumi pointed out. About to say that he could just observe the item to see if it is edible, Naruto realized that he couldn't tell them that. Seeing that the girls were waiting, he quickly said, "Earlier today when I asked Gabajiji what monster are in the forest, he also told me a lot of things, like what things are safe to eat and what they look like." Buying the believable excuse, the girls started moving towards the tree, and as Naruto was about to join them, he heard a ping and looked at the window. Skill created. As a result of lying, you have developed the active skill, lying. Lying. Active, LVL, 1, EXP. 0 out of 125 ninja are warriors of the shadows, assassins of the dark, and killers within hiding. Shinobi should possess all the ninja skills and more, and one ninja skill that is essential is lying. You just lied to your friends. Are you happy? Lie success chance equals 1% plus, player CHA, target CHA, plus modifier. Modifier depends on many factors. That's a useful skill, but why do I feel bad about lying? I'm a shinobi for the sage's sake. Hearing the girls asking him why he hasn't joined them, yet he quickly came up with an excuse. I'm keeping watch, in case anything decides to come near. Proving once again that having ridiculously high LUC is an overpowered factor on its own, the girls believed him and continued collecting. They switched a couple of times before they decided to go on searching for the rest of the things on the list. Naruto and the girls had spent quite a bit of time in the forest looking for things to bring back to Gabajiji, and what a haul they had. Naruto used his observe on a whole bunch of flowers, bushes, plants, and trees trying to see what is edible and what isn't, and he ended up finding these. Naruto lucked out with the Sylvic flower, as he just cast observe almost on instinct and figured out that it can be used in creating a medical salve. He also figured out that he doesn't have to verbally say the skill, just concentrate on it and what it does. This saved him from having to state, observe too much. Another thing that they gained is that they located several areas where some of the forest creatures like to rest, graze, sleep, or just wander through. When they were done picking and harvesting, Naruto noticed that they exceeded the needed amounts by a bit, reaching fruits, 73/50. Berries, 188/150. Nuts, 202/150. Mushrooms, 71/50. Roots, 27/25. Separating what they picked into one basket, which held the fruits, one with berries and roots, and the last one with nuts and mushrooms. Naruto decided to just place most of the Sylvic stems he picked in his inventory and leave a few in the baskets and see what the goblins would do. If they knew how to use them correctly, he'll find more. If not, he will keep them with him, the little amount that he found. By the time they reached the cave, it was starting to get dark out, and checking the time, Naruto noticed it was around 6 p.m. He also noticed that a window appeared stating, "Skill leveled up. Observe, active, LVL, 5, EXP, 11/625, through continuous observation. A skill to observe objects, situations, and persons was generated, allowing the user to quickly gather information. The higher the skill, the greater the data obtained. Currently shows you the max and current HP and MP, the stats, the perks, the flaws of your target, and a brief description. It will also inform you what skills can be obtained by eating the target being observed. This is so useful. It's a shame that it's going to be really difficult to grind it, especially in the forest. If I was in a town or city, I bet I would be able to observe many things, which would boost my observe level by quite a bit," were the thoughts that ran through Naruto's head while he was cheering about his awesome skill level up. Seeing them enter the cave, Gabajiji came up to them and saw that they brought back many things and thanked them for bringing this to the rest of the goblins. Meanwhile, another screen appeared in Naruto's viewpoint. Quest completed. Main objective complete. Gather up fruits, berries, nuts, and mushrooms for Gabajiji. Hidden objectives complete. Gather more than the needed amount in each category, including the hidden one, and gather roots. Main objective reward, 50 XP, 250 Gabajiji RP. Hidden objective reward, access to the treasury. Treasury, what's that? Is it the stash of stuff near where the girls are held? Naruto thought upon reading the message when he saw Gabujiji motioning him and the girls to come closer. As they move towards Gabajiji, they say how the older goblins gave some food to the rest of the younger goblins and then stored the rest away. When they reached Gabajiji, he told them to follow him as he went deeper into the cave. Finally reaching a nondescript wall, Gabajiji pressed at a certain section of it, and suddenly a large part of the wall vanished. The trio were shocked at what happened, and seeing this Gabajiji chuckled and explained, "This here is our treasury, where we keep our most important items. It was made quite a few generations ago, when one goblin evolved into a goblin mage and wanted to create a safe space to put our valuables. The enchantments on it only let you take one item a day, but if you bring a piece of loot, then you can take another item. I heard you three talking about going hunting tomorrow, and while I usually would try and stop you as you're still too young, you three are much smarter than the average goblin. So I want you three to pick something to help you tomorrow." Amazed at what they saw and giddy at the prospect of awesome weapons, they entered the barrier. When they saw the loot that awaited them, they were disappointed. Seeing their faces, Gabajiji laughed again and said, "There isn't much good stuff in here, since most of it was taken by goblins from my generation. Also, most of the time the things that are brought by the raiding parties are usually taken before they can be placed here. But you could still find something that could be useful in here. I mean, there has to be something in this huge pile." Looking around, Naruto decided to see if there's more information about the barrier, to see if he could find some loophole or way to trick it. Very weak treasury ward. This is a type of ward that is usually used on safes, vaults, and other places where you store your valuables. This one is slightly modified to allow individuals to take one item per day, and more if they place loot in the treasury. This ward is quite weak. In fact, any magic user would be easily able to break it, but it works for the goblins. This ward generally works by hiding the treasury, such as making it seem like the entrance is part of the wall. Flaws. Backpacks and bags are considered one item, no matter how much is in them. Yosh, I knew leveling up, observe, would be useful. Now let me find something that would help me tomorrow. Looking around and using observe quite a bit, Naruto found several good items, and he also noticed that observe leveled up twice. It must gain more XP when I use it on more complex items or enchanted items. Because of your logical and wise deduction, you receive +1 WIS and +1 INT. Screw you. Skill leveled up. Observe, active, LVL, 7, EXP, 256/875 through continuous observation. A skill to observe objects, situations, and persons was generated, allowing the user to quickly gather information. The higher the skill, the greater the data obtained. Currently shows you the max and current HP and MP, the stats, the perks, the flaws of your target, and a brief description. It will also inform you what skills can be obtained by eating the target being observed. When observing items, it will inform you of their DUR, durability, enchantments, item ranking, and in the case of weapons, how much damage they cause. Out of all the things he saw, only a few stood out. Dwarven backpack. This is a backpack made by dwarfs, for dwarfs. It can withstand a lot of damage and stay in pretty good condition. Item ranking, common. Contains X25, clean and in used dwarf underwear, X1, dwarven leather leggings. DUR, 59/60ths. Magic knapsack. This backpack has been enchanted to hold more items than it normally would, to be slightly resistant to damage, and to be immune to non-magical water and fire. This is a bag that most beginner adventurers use until they can get something much better. Item ranking, uncommon. Enchantments, undetectable minor expansion. Slight resistance to damage. Immunity to non-magical water and fire. DUR, 40/45. Contains X1, Introduction to Magic for Beginners, Volume 1. X1, Introduction to Magic for Beginners, Volume 2. X3, Very Weak Health Potion. X4, Very Weak Mana Potion. X1, Outdated Map. Hunting God's Skinning Knife. This knife has been enchanted by the lesser hunting god to be used for skinning beasts and animals. The thing that makes it not so useful for most people is that it can't hurt living beings. It also can only skin animals and beasts the user killed or participated in killing. Item ranking, ancient. Slashing damage, 0. Piercing damage, 0. Enchantments, sets, skinning, skill at max level while wielding the knife, which allows the user to obtain perfect pelts or hides. Chances of successfully harvesting organs increases. DUR, unbreakable through normal methods. I can't take all of this with me. I mean, I can, but I shouldn't. It would be too suspicious if I take it all now. so I guess I could find some way to convince Gabajiji to let me back in. Though I really want this stuff, deciding that he would rather be wearing clean underwear and a pair of pants instead of the dish rag he's wearing now, Naruto picked up the dwarven backpack and hid the other stuff. Searching for the others, he found E holding a war pick and casting a quick observe netted him this information. War pick. An uncommon weapon, mainly used by dwarves. It can be very dangerous in the right hands. This is a very well-forged weapon. Its handle is made out of a light but very strong wood, while the head is made out of a strong steel alloy. This makes it quite light, but very strong. It has a very simple design, and this makes most individuals overlook it or underestimate it. Item rating, uncommon. Piercing damage, 5 *STR. Critical chance bonus, plus 20%. DIR, 96/100. This is really awesome, isn't it, Naruto? Gobu began saying excitedly, happily hugging her weapon. Yeah, I guess. Naruto responded while sweat dropping and continued, but you know you're going to have to do a lot of strength training to be able to use it in a fight, right? I know that, and I'm ready to put in the work, stated Gobu with fire in her eyes. Okay, he answered as he began looking for Gabumi. Finally, he found her looking a bit upset, so he asked her, "What's got you upset, Gabumi?" "I can't find a good weapon that fits me," she answered despondently. Thinking a bit, Naruto remembered something he saw earlier, an enchanted slingshot that would fit Gabumi's high DX stats. Enchanted slingshot. This is a slingshot made for halflings, and it is actually a very dangerous weapon when handled correctly. This is enhanced even further with the enchantments on it, which make its shots much stronger, boosts its durability, and increases the user's accuracy when shooting. It will still remain inferior to any good bow. Item ranking, uncommon. Range damage, 2 *DX, plus 0.5 *STR, plus 25. Enchantments, increase range damage by 25. Increase DUR by 50. Increase accuracy by 25%. DIR, 122/130. Wait here a bit. I saw a weapon earlier that would fit you perfectly. After returning with the slingshot and showing it to her, and then after explaining how it works, she replied, "This is perfect. Thank you so much, Naruto," and then moved to leave the barrier. Leaving the barrier, he saw the other two waiting for him, and he saw Gabajiji close the entrance. Seeing that he had no visible weapon, but was wearing a backpack, they asked him if it was in there. "I decided that I don't need a weapon for now, and that having underwear and pants would be much, much better," Naruto answered. Accepting his answer, Gabajiji told them he will see them later and began leaving. Before he left, Naruto remembered he wanted to ask him about the supplies that he saw earlier. "Oh, those. Yeah, they're a bunch of stuff we the raiding parties got that nobody really wanted, and they weren't really valuable." "Why? Do you want to take stuff from them?" Gabajiji asked. "Is it okay?" "Yeah, sure." And with that, Gabajiji left to go eat a bit and sleep. Looking at the other two, he told them to follow him, and he led them to the cavern where he trained. Remembering the underwear and pants, he told them to wait out for a bit while he changed. Looking at the dwarven leather leggings, he decided to use observe on them and check out their information while he got dressed. Dwarven leather leggings. These leather leggings are made by dwarfs for dwarfs. They are very durable pants, ones that provide decent protection to the legs, and they also look pretty nice. Item ranking, common. Defense 25. DIR, 57/60. Alright, so I'm going to have you two do the same exercises I began with, and when you feel tired, just rest. It won't do you any good to train while you're exhausted. He had them begin with doing 2 sets of 15 push-ups, 15 sit-ups, and 15 squats, and then run 10 laps around the cavern. And he told them just to repeat it as many times as they can. For his training routine, he began with 4 sets of 30 push-ups, 30 sit-ups, and 30 squats. He did these while having a rock the size of his head on his back when doing push-ups and holding it in his hands when doing sit-ups and squats. After that, he ran 20 laps around the cavern. The girls were able to do 2 sets of their routine before getting too tired to exercise. They got tired a bit too quickly because they forgot to take small breaks to breathe and relax between sets. Naruto, on the other hand, managed to do 3 sets of his routine before he began feeling the effects of fatigue, so he decided to stop for the day. Looking at the messages that he received while training, he saw that he gained 2 STR and 1 VIT, which made him a bit upset as he realized he's going to need those weights if he's going to be able to train. Realizing that his future main source of stats is going to be from leveling up, he decided to try to brainstorm ways of making some training weights. Looking at the tired and exhausted girls, he saw that they gained 3 STR and no VIT points. He saw that the girls, while tired, weren't suffering from fatigue, and he also saw that he just needed some more rest. He told them to start practicing with their weapons for a bit. Gabomi to shoot at a target he quickly made and Gobu to get used to holding it and wielding it, but not at each other, something that he stressed, while he went to gather some items from the supplies. Reaching the supplies, he began picking through it and looted quite a bit of items. What interested him most was the bandages, as they were very useful. Bandages. These are bandages. What do you think they are? Item rarity, common. Effect, 85% chance to stop bleeding. If equipped as hand wrappings. Def, 3. Effects, improved handling of weapons. Immunity to status effect, sprain, wrists. Sounds about right. So let's start wrapping them around my hands, Naruto muttered to himself as he got to work, and after he finished he placed quite a bit of bandages into his inventory. Seeing some pots, pans, and other cooking utensils, he figured that having some on hand wouldn't be a bad idea. Looking through their descriptions to see which set is the best, he found one made from a steel alloy, which he saw was made by the dwarfs to be used to make cooking utensils. Rummaging through some boxes, he found a bit of rope, and remembering the survival training he underwent as a shinobi, he realized would be essential to surviving in the wild. He thought after collecting most of the rope that's in good condition, there isn't much rope here. I wonder how I can make some, or if there's some way to get more. Not important right now. I can think about this later. He found a lot of rolls of cloth, threads, needles, buttons, scissors, and other items and equipment used for tailoring. I guess the goblins attacked a caravan carrying a bunch of this stuff and ended up taking the cargo with them. Quickly taking a good amount that would last him some time. While he tries and make clothes, he realized he has no idea of how to sew or make clothes. Thinking about how he was going to proceed from here, he suddenly remembered something about his gamer's abilities. I can probably create a tailoring skill by trying and making some clothes. I can already feel the pain of pricking my fingers with the needles. Looking through the supplies further, he found nothing more than various knickknacks, wood and nails and other base materials, but he didn't take any of this as he had no use for them, at least for now. Leaving the pile and moving to the cavern, he began thinking of what the plan is going to be for tomorrow's hunt in the forest. It's really weird. I never used to think things logically that much or plan too much ahead. Is gamer's mind really that powerful? If it is, I wonder if there's some way to stop it from affecting me, or to limit it in some way. Remembering to take some of the stuff that he was going to use to try to make clothes as to not appear suspicious, he took out a roll of thread, some needles, a pair of scissors, and a roll of a strong cloth. Reaching the cavern, he saw that Gabomi was getting pretty accurate with the slingshot and Gobu was able to use the war pick with much greater ease than before. He also noted upon using, observe, that Gabomi gained 2 DX points and Gobu gained 3 STR points from their weapons training. Does training with a specific class of weapon increase certain stats? So using a ranged weapon would increase DX, while a melee weapon would increase STR? Huh, that actually makes a lot of sense. Still though, they aren't that proficient in using their weapons. Gabomi's aim, while alright, is only against a stationary target. Gobu can swing her pick, but the swings are rather slow and she tends to throw her entire weight into each swing. Seeing that they began to get tired, he told them to stop and rest for a while, as he sat down near a wall and put his items down. Gabomi and Gobu ended up sitting near him, and seeing him organizing his items to begin working, Gabomi asked him what he was doing. I found a bunch of stuff in the supplies, and most of it was stuff like this, and pointing towards the rolls of cloth and thread, and I figured that I could make some shirts and a couple of other things. Do you want me to make you some shirts and pants? You would do that? Gobu asked him. Of course, why wouldn't I? He told them while smiling and rubbing the back of his head. It's going to take me a bit of time to start working, so why don't you two go get something to eat and drink? Smiling at him, they stood up and ran to eat something, all the while forgetting their valuable weapons on the ground. Man, they sure aren't that smart. I mean, who forgets something important like their weapon on the ground? All the while ignoring the voice in the back of his head telling him that he was worse. Picking their weapons and placing them near him, he began trying to figure out how to make clothes. Knowing just the basics of sewing, from living by himself for many years, wasn't enough to start to make clothes, and he began thinking of what he's going to do. Remembering that he had some underwear in his backpack, he took some out and began looking at how they were made and if he could try something similar. Getting some idea of how to proceed, he began measuring and cutting cloth, and then began trying to sew everything together. The result was a disaster and fingers that hurt from the needles that poked them. Not giving up, he began working more until he eventually made what could be called a shirt, if a rather low-quality one. Happy that he finally succeeded, he dimly noticed the ping and the message that followed. Skill created. As a result of using a thread and needle to make clothes, you have gained the active skill, sewing. Sewing. Active, LVL, 1, EXP. For out of 125, a very useful skill to know when you rip your socks, try to modify your clothes, or even create an awesome-looking robe that you're going to enchant. This skill doesn't just govern the act of sewing, but rather the entire process of repairing, modifying, and creating clothes. This skill does not govern the repairing, modifying, and creating of leather gear. Plus 1% increase in sewing speed. 1% decrease in wasted cloth and thread. 1% decrease in stabbing yourself with a needle. Plus 1% increase in success chance, applies for rare and above items. Yosh. Now to make some clothes. As he began to work on his second shirt, the girls entered and saw the shirt that he made and looked at him with a bit of awe. Wow, you made this. It looks so good. Gabumi began telling him. Yeah, I can't wait for my clothes. Gobi said. Laughing and smiling at the praise, he began working on making a couple of more shirts and some pants, while the girls began talking about random things. He noticed that as he worked, the better and easier the act of tailoring became. Luckily, for him and the girls, that goblins of either gender were of the same size and build, as otherwise the clothes that he made wouldn't have fit them. Hearing another ping, he saw that he gained another level 2 sewing. He also saw that he gained 2 more points into his DX stat and began wondering if complicated tasks like this would increase his DX. Quickly checking the time, as he was too focused in his tailoring, he saw that it was getting a bit late. Finishing up and starting to tidy, he told the girls that they all should probably go sleep. Oh, and leave your weapons here. I'm going to hide them along with my backpack, so nobody tries to steal them when we're asleep. Thinking about it and agreeing with him, they gave him their weapons, and he suddenly remembered that he wanted to tell them something. Oh yeah, I almost forgot, but tomorrow we're not going to hunt with these weapons, he began telling them. Before they could argue, he began explaining. Right now we have no clue as to how the beasts in the forest attack or how they defend themselves. This, along with the fact that you two still need a bit of practice with your weapons, would make taking them with you disadvantageous. Surprised at how smart and logical he sounded, he almost missed the girls thinking over his words before agreeing with him. Don't worry, I'm sure after some more practice you'll have to trouble using your weapons in a fight, he told them encouragingly, and after seeing them smile he continued. Now you go on and go to sleep. I'm just going to tidy up, hide the stuff, and then go to sleep. After seeing them leave, he began placing everything in his inventory. After finishing with his packing, he then stood up, went to his spot, and fell asleep. Chapter 3. Hounded Wabbit Hunting Season. Day 5. You have slept on the ground. You have restored 50% of your HP and MP, and all negative status effects have been removed. With this familiar message greeting him, Naruto got up and looked around. He saw that all of the other goblins his age were still sleeping, and thinking about it, they never woke up when he did. I guess the game has me wake up automatically at specific times. Checking the time and seeing that it is around 8 a.m. in the morning, he decided to wake up Gobu and Gabumi so they could go to the forest to hunt, locating them rather easily among the goblin masses, as they were the only ones other than him wearing some form of clothing. Walking up to their sleeping forms, he woke them up and said, "Come on, you two, get up, or did you forget that we're going to be hunting for some meat in the forest today?" Finally waking up, the girls looked around and seeing everyone else sleeping, they told him it was too early. He responded by saying, "We're going to be hunting horned rabbits, and according to Gabajiji, they are mostly active early in the morning, but I can understand if you don't want to eat some meat. Go ahead, go back to sleep," he finished with a grin. With that, the two sleeping goblins started getting up, motioning for them to follow him. He began leading them towards the cave entrance, but not before getting each of them a small snack. Naruto also had the smart idea to bring with them a basket. Seeing this, Gobu asked him, "Why are you bringing the basket? Are we going to be picking more fruits and berries and stuff?" "No, this is for carrying the rabbits while we're hunting them. What did you think, that we're going to eat them immediately? If we did that, then we would have trouble splitting them between the three of us." Understanding his reasoning, they continued onwards, finally reaching the forest, when once again Naruto stopped and began looking at a bunch of fallen branches near some trees. Finally picking up 3 of them, he began removing any stray twigs or leaves left on them before handing one to each girl. These branches can act as clubs. They're lightweight and easy to swing, so it shouldn't be hard to use them, and we can't just try and hunt with no weapons. Wooden branch. A thick branch that fell from a tree. Item rating, poor. Bludgeoning damage, 1*STR. Dur, 15/15. Gabomi responded confused, but you told us yesterday that we aren't that good with our weapons. Why start using a new one? Your aim with the slingshot is okay against stationary targets, but you will end up having much more trouble against something that's moving. Gobu, while you were being able to swing the pick, you were exerting too much effort and you were quite slow. Using these clubs should be much easier, as they are lightweight and they're long enough to keep any rabbits from trying to stab us. Well, hopefully, he told them, while swinging the club around a couple of times and showing them how easy it was. Begrudgingly accepting his answer as it seemed a bit unfair to not have their weapons, but understanding his reasoning. They tried swinging the clubs around and did see how easy it was to do so. Naruto began to climb the tree and motioned for them to follow him. And as he reached the top, he began to tree hop towards one of the areas that they found yesterday that they thought could be an area that some horned rabbits likely frequent. Finally reaching their destination, they were happy to see that there was indeed a horned rabbit down there grazing on some grass. It was quite big for rabbits, being just a bit shorter than Naruto's knee. Using observe mentally, this is what Naruto got. Horned rabbit. HP, 50/50ths. MP, 15/15ths. Age, youngling. STR, 3. Dex, 15. Vit, 5. Int, 1. Wis, 1. Luke, 1. A large rabbit that has a sharp horn on its head. It runs away when shocked, but it can quickly get over that and attack. Its attacks usually consist of charging straight at the target and attempting to stab them. Unfortunately, many goblins die this way because they are too stupid to know that they should dodge. XP. Loot. Skills from consumption. Escape. Escape. Really, why would I escape? I am Naruto Uzumaki, and I never run away from any fight. He began thinking before he suddenly logically rationalized, however. This skill would still increase my chances of survival if I run into any enemy that I can't win against. Shocked again by the gamer's mind skill activating on its own, he was once again reminded of how powerful his gamer ability is. Quickly shaking off any remaining thoughts, he focused on the task at hand. Alright, so first we need to figure out what it does when we try to attack it, and see how it might attack. Here's the plan. First, you two position yourselves near the largest escape routes that it has. Then I'm going to jump in front of it and scare it. It might try and attack me, or it might try and run away. If it does the first thing, I'll kill it, and if it does the second, you jump and try to kill it. Be careful though not to let it try and gore you. Thinking about his plan, they ended up agreeing to it, as they didn't really have a better one. Moving into position, but also making sure that they didn't make too much noise, Naruto decided to begin. Quickly jumping in front of the rabbit caused it to become frightened and then try to run away, but it tried to escape through the exit that Gobu was guarding. Jumping down and managing to hit it on the back of its neck, causing a loud crack to be heard, a message popped up. Damage dealt. Bludgeoning damage is equal to 1 × 9 = 9. Strike from above, bonus damage, is equal to 9 × 2 = 18. Stealth hit is equal to 18 × 1.5 = 27. Crit hit is equal to 27 × 2.5 = 67. Realizing that they got lucky, in terms of both damage and Gobu not getting hurt. It's too dangerous to try and jump and hit it. It might be better to just attack it from the ground. This way we could dodge if it tried attacking us. We still need to see how it attacks. Great job, Gobu. He congratulated her, and he moved to the rabbit. Looking over it quickly, he got a new message. 50 XP obtained. Looking at his stats, he saw that it was only 1/3 of the XP. He realized that the XP got split between all individuals. That's going to make leveling up a bit harder, but considering we're most likely going to hunt every day, and probably other creatures as well, it shouldn't be too bad. Also, something was odd to me. Observe told me this rabbit was a youngling, so maybe an older one would give more XP? Seeing a message pop up telling him he gained a point in INT, reaffirmed his idea. Quickly picking up the rabbit, he saw that it definitely wouldn't feed the 3 of them. So quickly breaking off its horn, he placed the carcass into the basket. Looking at Gobu and Gabomi, he saw them looking at the rabbit in hunger, so he quickly told them, Oi, take a hold of yourself. We're going to be hunting more. Would you rather waste time eating now, or go hunt more and eat a bunch later? This snapped them out of their trance, and they blushed, embarrassed by how they acted before agreeing with him, and began to climb the trees again. Looking at the horn in his hand, he decided to place it in one of the pockets in his pants, thinking it might be useful later on. As they moved towards another location through the trees, Naruto began thinking on another plan, and soon they found a random rabbit walking through the forest. Seeing that it was a bit larger than the other one, Reaching to a bit above his knee, he decided that using Observe was the best option. Horned Rabbit. HP 100/100. MP 20/20. Age Adolescent. STR 4. Dex 17. Vit 6. Int 1. Wis 1. Luke 1. A large rabbit that has a sharp horn on its head. It runs away when shocked, but it can quickly get over that and attack. Its attacks usually consist of charging straight at the target and attempting to stab them. Unfortunately, many goblins die this way because they are too stupid to know that they should dodge. XP. Loot. Skills from consumption. Escape.